Hi, and thanks for your interest in the pet bed workshop. For those of you who maybe have some extra fleece and some extra time and want to make more pet beds other than the kit that you picked up, I wanted to provide some additional instructions for you so that we can make as many beds as we can for those little pups and cats in need. So first of all, I have here the sizes. So based on the fleece that you either have already, perhaps it's a blanket that you no longer use, or maybe you've got some left over from a project that you made, or maybe you even just want to go and buy some. That's fine too. And we have several sizes here. I'll hold up for you. This also should be in the flyer that was in your kit that you picked up as well. So you can see that based on what size fleece that you have, the finished size is going to be 8 inches smaller on each size. Now, of course, if we vary from this a little, an inch or two, it's not going to matter. The pets aren't going to care. But that kind of gives you an idea of what some standard sizes for pet beds are. Now, as I mentioned, if you wanted to go and buy some fleece, I picked up these at Walmart. They were $2.50 for each, and these rolls are all over. I got some at Menards at Christmas time. You can get them at fabric stores, all over the place. And these are typically 50 by 60 inches. And you'd need 2 of these, so one for the front and one for the back. And with 2 of these, I can make 4 small beds. I can make 2 medium beds. I can make a medium and 2 smalls, or I can make 1 large, extra large, or extra, extra large with a little bit of extra left over. And that extra left over, I could cut into strips to use for the stuffing. So first of all, let's see, since the kit that you picked up was already prepped for you to just cut the strips and tie, I'm just going to walk you through how you would prepare your fleece to make another pet bed or 2 if you would like. So again, you'll need your fleece, whether it's something you've purchased or again, a fleece blanket of your own. You'll need some good scissors for cutting fabric, and then either a tape measure, or I like to use a yardstick because I can just lay it down on a flat surface, whether it's a table or the floor, and measure to cut my dimensions. So the first thing I want to do with my fleece, if I'm buying one of these rolls, which are roughly about a couple bucks you can get them for, they usually come with a blanket stitched edge. We actually want to cut that off because otherwise when we cut our strips, we're going to have all these loose threads, and that's not safe for our pets either. So I'm going to go ahead and just take my scissors and cut all the way around the edge of this blanket to cut off that binding that has been sewed on. So I'm just working my way around. Now, if you have a fleece blanket of your own that has a hemmed edge, we would want to do the same thing and cut that hemmed edge off because we want that raw edge on our fabric. Of course, if you're buying fleece just off the bolt at a fabric store, it would already have raw edges, and so you wouldn't need to do this step. And the scraps that I'm cutting off, I'm actually going to throw in my scrap bag that I use for stuffing. So along with any fabric scraps from projects I've done throughout the year, and socks that have holes in them after I throw them in the wash, and then I put them in my bag. This is going to make perfectly fine stuffing for our pet bed when we are done. So after you've gone through and cut the edges off, if need be, of both of your colors that we usually are doing, 2 complementary colors, one for the front and one for the back, then we can go ahead and lay them together, and we will lay them out so that we can cut them to size. All right, so I've got my 2 colors here. I've got a solid blue here on the back. I've got a cat and dog print here that I'm going to use for the front, and I'm just lining them up so I can lay them flat. I'm going to lay them right on the floor, and I kind of want to make sure my edges are lined up. because I'm going to cut both layers at the same time. Now you want to make sure that the right side is out on both of them, because we're just going to leave them as they are when we prepare our bed, and we want the soft fuzzy side, or the side with that shows the picture the cutest on the outside, so our pets have some nice beds. So I'm just making sure I have everything, all my edges lined up, and then I'm going to go ahead and lay this out on the floor. All right, so I'm down on the floor. I'm sitting actually right on top of the fabric that I'm going to be using here. And we want to remember our sizes here. So our 50 by 60, when we cut the edges off, is really about 49 by 59. And if I have each of those sizes, okay, I'm getting just under 25 by 30. If I look at my sizes, you know, it's somewhere between our extra small and our small, which would be okay. Which means I could really just take and cut this right down the middle, both directions, and get a just slightly smaller than small pet bed each direction. So our size would be, you know, almost the small size. I also could get a couple mediums. I'm actually going to do mediums for this. So 28 by 38. So if I take that long edge, that 60 size, and cut it in half, which is actually about 59 anyway, since I cut that edging off, we're really almost right at 28. So I'm going to cut it in half on the long side. So I'm going to just fold it in half to measure that. And then the other direction, I'm going to want like 38 inches. And I'll cut off that scrap, and that scrap I'm going to use for the stuffing. Okay, so let's see. So I've got my long side here. And to fold it, to cut it in half, I'm actually just going to fold it. So I'm going to take, I've got my two, so you can see I've got my two colors here together. I'm just going to take and fold this in half, and then I can just cut right on that fold, and it will get exactly in half. Okay, so I'm just putting, again, so now I've got 4 thicknesses of fleece, and I'm cutting in half here. Get this back into where you can see. And I'm just going to take my shears here, and I'm going to cut right on that fold line. So I'm going to just cut right through here. And then I've got the one dimension, the shorter dimension, is going to be about 29, which is just a smidgen over our recommended sizes. Again, they don't have to be exact. It just gives you a nice guideline for what some appropriate pet bed sizes are. Okay, and so I've got this done now. And so then I'm just going to take my my measuring implement here. I'm going to take my tape measure. And so I've got my 28-inch size done here. So then I want 38 the other direction. So I'm just going to, in fact, I might actually even just use my yardstick, which is 36 inches. And then I know I need to do like 2 more inches beyond that. So I'm just measuring out. And in fact, I'll measure in a couple places here just to make sure that I am cutting straight. And I'm just going to cut at 38 inches here, which I think I'm out of the screen here, trying to make this visible to you. And I'm going to check again a little farther down, make sure I'm still at 38 inches. There we go. So now if you're going to make 4 small beds out of one of those rolls, you can actually cut in half and then cut in half again. And you will have material that you need for 4 just under small size beds. Now again, if you're using fleece that you got from the store, you'll have to measure out and maybe do a little math and try and figure out what you can fit out of the size fleece that you have. All right, so this extra that I cut off, it's too small to do anything with, so I'm actually just going to cut this into some smaller chunks and put it in my scrap bin, and I will use that for stuffing then when I get to the point of stuffing my pet bed. So now, once I've got my 2 pieces, so I've got my front and back together, and I'm actually going to put the solid side down just so it's a little easier to see on camera here. I have my solid side showing, and what I want to do is I want to cut a 4-inch square out of each corner. Okay, so again, I'm going to use my yardstick here, and I'm going to measure in 4 inches, and I'm going to measure up 4 inches so that I'm cutting out a 4-inch square out of all 4 corners. So when I'm done, I'll have one of these cut out of all 4, and we can see I've got a 4-inch square cut out of that corner. I'm going to do that to all 4. And then you'll be at the point where the kit was set up for you. So then we'll go ahead and we'll cut all of the strips for the fringe that we're going to be tying. We'll go ahead and tie them, leaving an opening, and stuff it. And then finally do those last ties. So I hope this helps you get your fleece set up if you decided that you wanted to do another pet bed on your own with some extra fleece that you have, so that we can make as many beds as we can for those pets in need.